The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Business Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericabusiness.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management. Does money cause you stress? When a new life situation arises, do you worry how that will affect your budget and cash flow? Managing money is not always easy, but learning how to plan, set, and adjust goals as needed can help keep stress to a minimum and your financial success on a steady course. Welcome to Money Counts, Unleashing Your Money's Hidden Potential, with host Debbie Peterson. Your future plan starts right here. Here's Debbie.
Hello, this is Debbie Peterson. Our show is called Unleashing Your Money's Hidden Potential. I'm a financial advisor, and our company is Money Counts Incorporated. We are located in Charlotte, North Carolina, but we do work with people across the country, so you don't need to be near us. We can do work over the phone or by computer. And today's topic is going to be health insurance for individuals. This would be anybody that is not old enough yet to qualify for Medicare. We have Billy Jordan with us, Billy Jordan Jr. He is the owner of Jordan Insurance Agency that is located in Ballantyne, which is right outside of Charlotte. And he is also able to do some business in other states. So if you need help, you can look at the website on Voice America, and you'll be able to find his contact information there. And he started his agency 12 years ago, and we've been just chatting a little bit about the changes that have happened over the last few years with Obamacare and a lot of the confusion about what's actually available now outside of the traditional Obamacare plan. So Billy is going to talk to us about those sorts of things. And if you have questions that we did not cover, you can email those to us at mcradio@moneycounts.biz, and we would be happy to get answers for you. All right, Billy, what do you have to say today?
Well, thank you for bringing me on today. This is definitely a hot topic right now, health insurance, and it's open enrollment, so people are searching online and calling their friends and families and trying to figure out what's their best option for next year. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself and how I started the agency in order to kind of get everyone up to speed on where we are today. In 2006, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. At that time, I was working in just traditional corporate America, and she had insurance. But when it came time to use the insurance, no one understood it. So I was so frustrated with the lack of understanding of insurance and really how to help her that I decided at that time that I would enroll into an insurance class to learn about how to understand insurance policies. After getting into the class and starting to learn more about insurance, I realized that a lot of people didn't understand insurance that were around me. And so I started helping people just, reading their own policies. And I thought, wow, what if I could, make a career out of this? And lo and behold, I started my career in an insurance agency working for a captive company. So I got to learn, once again, how to work in corporate America, but I quickly realized I wanted to make my own decisions, make my own pathway, and so I sought out to become an independent agent. And when I first started, I only had one license, and I focused primarily with one carrier, and over time I continued to expand to include more carriers and more states that I could help people find insurance options in, and one referral led to another referral, and before you know it, the Jordan Insurance Agency was created. During that time, I've learned a lot about health insurance, and obviously it's changed over the past 12 years. It used to be, it was complicated before, but now that we've got so many regulations around health insurance, it's gotten a lot more difficult for the average person to understand it. Sure, you can buy it with a subsidy if you qualify, but most people don't understand the language of the requirements in the law to understand what's a good policy and what's not a good policy. So over these last few years, we've had to retool ourselves and become even more involved and read more and understand more about health insurance. I've joined my local chapter for NET, the Health Underwriters Association. I'm also a member of the national chapter for Health Underwriters Association, so that not only could I get involved with it locally, but I could understand it from how the laws are actually written from DC and how that comes down to just the average person.
That's great. You should be very proud of yourself for doing that, and we're grateful that you did.
Yes. Thank you. Another area that has really helped me as far as people, with the health insurance is in 2000, I believe it's 11, I was awarded the opportunity to work with an organization called the Dave Ramsey Show. And through that program, I became the exclusive endorsed local provider for health insurance. So I had a chance to not only take what I had learned over the years and help just, people that knew me, but now I was working with totally different community of people, a lot of people that were in the faith community that had a lot of trust in what Dave would say. So they obviously would follow his guidance, and whatever he recommended, that's where they would go. And so through a process of interviewing, they had about 5 different candidates. I was chosen to become the ELP, and I believe year to date we've received well over 2,000 referrals since becoming a member of that association.
Wow, great.
We've strived to kind of keep our rating as high as possible. I think we're around 95%. It's very hard to get 100.
Imagine so.
But it's certainly been a wonderful thing because, again, you're helping people. And at the end of the day, that's what it was about for me in the beginning. It's just continued on through another process. The area that I really focus on is the individual market, the family market, the self-employed market, and small business. With Obamacare, a lot of that has now kind of come together. So small group insurance looks a lot like individual, simply because of the protections that have been put in place in individual coverage to make it stronger. So, often when I get someone that calls me and says, hey, I'm a 2-person company and I'm looking for, some options, they don't find too many. And vice versa. If you're shopping for family coverage and you just got that rate increase from the large blue company, what are your choices? Mm-hmm. And so what we do is we'll evaluate it from where you live by state, what your situation is, and then we'll look at what's available based on whether we're talking about traditional insurance, which companies that you probably know and have been around, or maybe we're talking about non-traditional insurance, which is something that may be new to you, but not new to some of your friends and family.
So when you say you're look at a person's situation, can you expand on that a little bit? What do you mean? What would you be specifically looking for that they should be prepared to kind of tell you?
So when we're talking about insurance, we're going to talk about, tell me about, do you take medication? What is your income? Those are things that will lend to whether the marketplace and that type of insurance is something that you need to have from a price standpoint, or if you're looking for insurance or healthcare that's not based on subsidies, but you're looking for more choices. Okay. Maybe you're healthy, but you don't feel that $900 is the cheapest plan you can get, when in fact, maybe over here you could get a family plan for half that price. Okay. But you won't know that unless we kind of explore what your options are. Because the way that the insurance is set up now, the average person knows what the marketplace is because of all the media that's been talked about and everything that's advertising. But very few people know that there's other options out there other than just a traditional health insurance.
Yeah.
And we're told that we need to go on the marketplace when we have questions, but that doesn't cover all the different solutions that are available.
It does not. And one thing that I don't know you may be aware of, but in order to be an insurance license to sell our products and to sell on the marketplace, not only do we have to get licensed, but we also have to go through certification and continuing education. In order to be a marketplace representative, you're only going through a 20-hour course. So there is no license there for that person to be able to give you information that I'm able to give you, because they're not actually licensed by a state. They're working under a federal contract that allows them to work as a representative.
Okay.
So it's a difference even in the approach, and that's why they can only go by what their screen says, because that's the only thing they've been taught to do.
Mm-hmm. Right, and most of those big companies are no longer paying commissions to people like you to explain the differences among the different carriers and things. Is that correct?
Correct. So, because of that, you've seen a shrinkage in the insurance agents that are even available. I mean, I'm kind of a dinosaur now that I've, been out there for a while. And the fact that
just like Barney.
Doing individual insurance is not, what it used to be. So we had to figure out, ways that we could still be a resource to someone looking for health care, but, not impose fees, because there are some brokers who have chosen to go that route. That wasn't who I started out wanting to do, and that's not what we're doing today. But we just saw other products that we felt would be beneficial to the consumer, average consumer, and they pay us so that we don't have to ask the client to pay us anything.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that changed, I think, for the better, unless you were an insurance company, when Obamacare came in, is that pre-existing conditions are no longer a problem. Is that right? So
pre-existing conditions do not apply if you're seeking out Obamacare. So that is a good thing. 12 years ago, that would have made a huge difference in my mom's situation. We could have gotten her to care and gotten her to chemo and the things that would have been necessary for her to maybe live a little bit longer. But in today's world, you don't have to worry about the pre-existing side of it unless you're looking into the non-traditional options. But generally, the people looking in the non-traditional options are fairly healthy people. So, you don't have to be the perfect size and on no medication. You could be taking, blood pressure, cholesterol medications, have a little weight on you, and you can still qualify for good health care. So we look at Obamacare now as more of the chronic for medical conditions where, I had someone that needed a kidney. That's going to be the best place for them to go, because on the non-traditional side, that's not something that they're going to share in that cost or cover right away.
Okay, so could you talk a little bit more about what you mean by non-traditional insurance?
Sure. So when I mean non-traditional insurance, there's a difference set of language we have to use. We're talking insurance, we're using co-pays, we're using deductibles, we're using co-insurance. When we talk about non-traditional insurance or non-traditional healthcare, we're talking about programs that are faith-based, more like a co-op. They're allowed under the Affordable Care Act to exist, and they have federal guidelines instead of state guidelines like a traditional insurance company. So they have to be in a business or in existence before 1999. They also have to go through a yearly audit so they can show where the money that they're collecting that's coming in and where it's going. And then they have a set of guidelines how they choose to operate. So instead of using the word deductible, we might use member responsibility.
Okay.
Instead of saying copay, we might say access fee.
Okay.
So it's just a difference in the language. But as a person who actually has non-traditional healthcare, I can tell you from firsthand experience that it works and feels and looks just like insurance, but it's not insurance under the law. So there's a process in understanding what those two sides look like. And most times, People get a little leery when they see words that say this is not insurance, we do not provide guarantees. But then if you flip it over and you go and you look at the company's history and you look at what they're paying and you look at their membership, one particular company's been around for 30 years, and in 30 years they paid almost $1.5 billion, and they've never not paid a bill. Mm-hmm. So that's impressive for, quote, a non-insurance, insurance company. But we hear all the time about insurance companies never paying bills.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So that must be kind of interesting how all that works. I have a sister who's a doctor, and she was medical director for a Christian-based healthcare organization about the time Obamacare came in. And I'm sure she understands a lot more about how all of that works. But once you get the government involved, we can't help but make it complicated.
That's for sure.
Okay, and I think you mentioned that there are 5 companies primarily that do that type of
yes. So
coverage?
when the law was passed in 2014, there was an exemption given to just 5 of these type of companies, even though there's well over 100. Most people don't know this. But there's only 5 that were given the exemption because they met all of the requirements in order to be to operate the way that they did prior to the law. So those 5 companies, out of those 5, 3 of those work with insurance agents. So there's 3 options that you have. We're able to talk to you about the other 2 as well. But generally, for most people, the 3 that we talk about are going to be your 3 big ones. And then within that group of those non-traditional companies, there's an option to understand, well, why does this company require me to be of a certain faith, whereas this company says I can be of any faith? Well, how does this company pay the bill? How does this company collect the money from the members? So there's little differences between each one of them, but those 5 that were given the exemption are the 5 that are allowed by law to operate today alongside traditional health insurance.
Interesting.
Well, we're getting close to our time for a break, but I hope you're finding this very interesting. I am.
Yeah.
And Billy's going to share some more information with us when we get back. We do want you to send in questions if you would like to know more about a particular situation that may be impacting you. And the email address for that again is mcradio@moneycounts.biz. And this is part of our continuing series on areas in your life where you may be able to make some significant changes, becoming more efficient in how your money is used for a particular goal that will free up money for other goals. Healthcare is certainly on everyone's mind, and we know that our Congress and our president tried to make some changes to how Obamacare was set up, but they were not able to come to an agreement on that. It is a very complicated subject, and I think most of us would agree that we would all like everyone to have health care, but we don't have any idea how we can all afford it. And, so every time we make a change, it does change who is paying for what. And Billy should be able to tell us a little bit more about how these alternative organizations work. Go ahead, Billy.
Sure. So one thing I want to point out is that with the market changing so much over the last few years, traditional companies that you had heard of, household companies like Aetna and United Healthcare and Humana and even some of the Blue Cross Blue Shields are no longer selling individual health insurance. And so that's what's created such a change in the market, so that people started to look at what other options were out there. To give you an example, health sharing programs, when they started 4 years ago, had just somewhere south of 200,000 members. Today, they're close to 1 million in just 5 years. So people are gradually in large blocks moving toward those type of programs, not just for the price of it, but for what they can provide to your traditional insurance. Another thing that helps them is that when you're someone living in California or someone in Texas or Florida, your price is the same across the United States, whereas we can't get the price the same on traditional insurance from one state to the next. So there's an advantage there. And then also, when you look around now in the current climate, health insurance has gotten, carriers have gotten to the point to where there's only about one carrier per state. And so, in North and South Carolina, we have, the Blue Cross Blue Shield brand. But outside of that, there's no other option. So if you're one of those folks who received a grandfather letter and said that your insurance is going to go away and here's your new premium, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Cry for a while, I think.
That's why we have you on here.
Curse a little bit.
Yeah, that's why you're here, because there are some options, and most people don't think that there are. So
one of the first things you start looking for is, okay, well, what other options would I consider? There's some options where you can work directly with a primary care and receive some of your health care there. There's the model of, well, I can just do it on my own without insurance, which I never advise you to do that. And then there's the faith-based option, which is, tell me a little bit more about how that works. Because when you think faith-based, you think, well, they're going to tell me what I have to do. They're going to ask me how often I go to church or what my religious affiliation is in order to be a part of their program. And some of that is true. But for the most part, the companies that we work with, they allow everybody from really all walks to be able to join these programs. Now, one thing you have to be aware of is that because these are non-traditional options that are under the federal government's guidelines, they're allowed to have pre-existing conditions. They're allowed to decline you if you're a smoker or if you're over a certain height and weight. Because remember, this is a group of people who have collectively come together, and they all have shared goals and shared minds, shared ideas on how they want to live. And so if you start taking in too many of the wrong types of situations, you create a problem, which is now called Obamacare for insurance.
Yes.
So we want to look at those things on a comparison scale to say, hey, which one of these programs would work best for me? Because just by calling them directly, you're not going to learn anything about the other company. And I would say that, to start, first thing you want to do is, get online, start searching for information about the health sharing programs. Then number 2, call insurance agents. You'll be surprised. There are probably less than, I would say 5% of the insurance agents who even know how these programs really work. But they'll discourage you from signing up for them because they're still trying to sell the old traditional insurance, and they want you to believe that that's the only option there is. So when you find someone who is expert in the health sharing programs along with the marketplace or Obamacare insurance, then you have a way to really compare the two worlds to see which one makes the most sense for you. And again, we don't charge you for our services. So the non-traditional stuff, they pay us the same way that the traditional stuff pays us. So it's at no cost to you. The programs, again, the non-traditional, they can reach all 50 states. Our programs reach all 50 states, and I quote the same prices in every state.
Do you need to be licensed in all of those states?
You do not. And the reason is because under those programs, they're not considered insurance. So they fall under the federal guidelines. And in their world, I'm not considered an insurance agent. I'm considered a new member representative. So because of that, I can operate with my insurance license to do insurance products. But for the purpose of their program, I don't have to be licensed. Now, in order to get an appointment, I do have to be a licensed agent, and I do have to carry error and omission insurance that covers me just like insurance, but I don't have to be licensed to sell in multiple states.
Interesting. I'm going to go back to the non-traditional for just a second and ask you. So you have to qualify, like you said, they are protecting their risk essentially. So you have to qualify. So do you have to qualify every single year?
No. So when you join the program for the first year, there's what's called a medical questionnaire that they'll ask you a series of questions. And at the end of that medical questionnaire, you know exactly where you stand with them. So I'll use my own personal profile. When I signed up to one of the programs, I was taking 2 medications, one for blood pressure, one for cholesterol. Well, they considered that a minor infraction, so there was a fee that was assessed to my monthly share amount that I had an option to get off either by diet and exercise or simply by paying that fee for 1 year, and then it would be removed.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have to continue to pay it, but the incentive was, hey, we're going to help you with some lifestyle changes to try to get that fee off of there by online coaching and meal planning and things like that. But if I didn't, the most I would pay is a year of that fee.
So they provide you the tools to help you get healthier. Correct. Essentially what insurance was really meant to do at the beginning, right?
Right.
Lead to a healthy lifestyle.
Right.
Excuse me. Well, that's good to know. I was thinking that, oh no, you have to qualify every year so they can just drop you if they didn't like what you you use that year.
Now, another thing that they offer too is that, so the flip side of that is, let's say I came in and I was a triathlon, or I was, just someone who's really fitness, into fitness. So then some of the plans would offer me an even deeper discount for being healthy. So maybe my list price was $200, but my healthy rate was $150.
Okay.
So if I met certain requirements, they would give me that lower rate on top of the fact that they were already so much cheaper than traditional health insurance.
Okay, great. And these consider, when I go back to thinking we're getting ready towards the end of the year, and people will start doing their taxes in the beginning of the year. So these 5 non-traditional companies that were approved, so they qualify for the Obama credit, so you don't get that tax
correct
penalty. If you're enrolled in these.
Yeah, so the plans the companies that we work with are all what's called ACA exempt.
Okay.
So in order to not face the penalty, you have to sign up either for Obamacare or you have to sign up for an ACA exempt option. Because we use insurance and non-tradition, typically our programs, one either by itself or together, are both ACA exempt. And so you don't worry about the penalty. It's not anything that the client really thinks about. We also make them aware of that on the front end, because when they see the savings that they're going to get anywhere from 50 to 60% from what they were paying, the first thing they say is, well, what about the penalty? And I say, well, this comes without the penalty. So you're going to save that money and not worry about paying anything to the government.
Okay. So your clients must be thrilled.
They are. I've asked them all to add me to the Christmas list.
Can you give us some examples of how the different companies might benefit somebody in different situations? Sure.
So let's say that you're seeking out this new option, or you're considering this new option for healthcare, and maybe one of the things that comes up is, well, most of the programs out there have some type of annual or lifetime cap. And the reason is because they have to do that in order to keep the cost at a certain price point. Well, there's one particular company that has an unlimited cap on the medical bills that can be submitted once you pay your household amount. So if you were to consider that company and you met their statement of faith, then you're unlimited. You have an unlimited amount of catastrophic benefit versus another company that maybe offers $500,000 or $1 million. So those are things that could be different from one program to the next.
Okay.
But you can't wait until you already know that you're going to need to spend a lot of money on healthcare and then switch into one of those, right?
You're right. It's still like
that health assessment.
Yeah, you still have to go through the process. And remember, since there are things like pre-existing waiting periods that can apply. It's important to know, where you stand. But then there's also things that can help you as well. So there's some programs that if you do have a pre-existing, maybe they won't pay the full amount, but they'll pay a portion of your bill. There's other programs that may even help you with that pre-existing bill. So there's even help within those programs.
All right. And then is the only way to find out what your particular cost would be is to go through the application process?
No. These, again, are not insurance companies, so they don't require you to go through the full application process, either from our website or talking to them over the phone. We can send them a quote, or they can go to our website and they can put in their date of birth and the rates pop up. So
and those will be the actual rates they would expect.
Those will be the actual rates. Mm-hmm.
And is there a discount if several family members are enrolling in the same plan? Does that make any difference?
So the rate table for this type of healthcare is done on 3 levels. It's single plus one, and family. Okay. So that's pretty much, the tables. The good thing is that if you've got, and I have quite a few families that are, 7, 8, 9, 10 people in a family, they pay the same price on 3 that they,
Yeah, right, for all the rest of them.
For everybody else. So it's awesome. A really, nice feature there. And it also helps because when you get into the amount that's the family's responsible for, it's the amount for the whole family. It's not the amount per person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a big savings.
Right. So you can have a lot of savings, not only just on the medical bill side, but also on the premium side.
Interesting.
Would you like to tell us your website? You mentioned that we could go on there to look up some of this information. Would you like to share that with us? Sure.
Our website is www.thejordaninsuranceagency.com. Again, www.thejordaninsuranceagency.com. Or you can call our office, which is 704-926-7565. We have a 24-hour answering service, so there's always going to be someone that's there to take your message, and we try to respond as quickly as possible.
Well, good. Okay, well, I hope everybody's written that down, but these shows are available for replay if you miss some of the information, and it really is interesting to learn about some of these choices that we haven't been aware of in the past. You mentioned we don't have to do a formal application like we're used to from the old days of insurance where they ask you all kinds of questions and you're really afraid to answer them truthfully in case that might get you ruled out of the whole process, right?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about this time of year where there's open enrollment. How does that work?
Well, open enrollment for non-traditional healthcare is actually year-round. The most busiest time for us is actually not during open enrollment, but after open enrollment. A lot of folks think they missed the opportunity to sign up for healthcare, so they find out that there's other options, or maybe they signed up for Obamacare and realized, oh gosh, I don't have to pay that. I can sign up for this program. So we, with the non-traditional programs, do not have a period of the year that you can sign up. So it's 12 months out of 12 months.
Great.
And if I were going to switch companies, let's say it was in May, can I just cancel my current coverage after I've been approved for the faith-based program?
You sure can. Most of the plans through the federal marketplace require at least a 14-day notice. So we coordinate with you to, let you know, hey, if you're planning to start in June, we need to make sure we get this all wrapped up by, or at least let the marketplace know by the middle of the month, even though you could take all the way up to the last day of the month to sign up for our program. So we could get you started on our plan, which always starts on the first of the month, but we have to let the marketplace know that you're no longer going to be in their program with at least a 14-day notice.
Okay, and how about if someone lost their job? Let's after the break, let's talk about that. I don't know if you can do bridge coverage or if there's a certain minimum amount of time that people need to be aware of, and how long the process would take from a time perspective. Is it a couple of weeks, or is it so confusing we need more time than that? things like that we'd all like to know about. And do you want to share also maybe the names of the companies that you're working with? You said there were 3 big ones.
Sure. We work with a company by the name of MediShare, which is the largest one in the country. We work with another one by the name of Alira Healthcare, Altrua. So when you were looking at these non-traditional options, and I wanted to also highlight the fact that the companies that we work with that we mentioned, these are just a few of them: MediShare, Altrua, Alira. That is just one part of the program. Now, that is what we would consider catastrophic. We actually use a hybrid approach where we'll take insurance, because there's an insurance product that works really well with these catastrophic programs to give you a comprehensive health plan.
Okay.
So you're not just buying catastrophic, which is why it's important to talk to a broker who understands the programs and how to bundle them together versus going directly to the company, because they'll have no clue what you're talking about. They're not an insurance company. Yeah. But one thing that's also brought up a lot is, can I keep my doctor? You know, many of the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans that are out there in the marketplace or tend to force you into one network over the other. In our local area here in Charlotte, we have 2 great networks. We have Novant Health, we have Carolina Medical. Well, I could sell you a $1,000 plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and at the end of the day, you only have one provider network to choose from. I could sell you a $400 plan, non-traditional healthcare option, and you've got both. So that's a big advantage when you're considering, you know, how much do you really like your doctor, and how do you really want to go through that effort of changing? Because a lot of people don't like their doctor. I've actually got a doctor I really like to go to now. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I like the fact that he's already in that network for my plan. So regardless, I can keep him. Another thing that's brought up is, you know, when someone loses their job, is the faith-based options that we offer, even with the insurance component, the best option for them? So it depends. If they're only looking for something for a very small period of time, less than 90 days, maybe we look at a traditional short-term medical insurance. That product is still available.
Oh, good.
But that product does not cover some of the things that we can use as I'll use our wraparound programs to provide you.
Okay.
So we can look at that to see, well, do we just go traditional? Do we go with a hybrid model, or do we go with a hybrid of the insurance and health sharing program to see which one makes the most sense?
And then they would also possibly have COBRA coverage too, right?
Correct. But we're often trying to keep COBRA as the last resort.
Right, because it's expensive normally.
Yeah. So that's a bit cost there. And then also, you know, when you're looking at the insurance versus the non-healthcare option, how do you compare them? You know, I always tell people is, all right, if you bring your policy to me and you've got a $5,000 deductible, and I'm telling you about this health plan over here that's got a $5,000 out of pocket, they're not apple to apple comparison. The dollar amount is, but what goes into that $5,000 bucket? That's what we have to consider. So, for example, if you were wanting to alter your gender, Obamacare will pay for that. A non-healthcare option will not. So $5,000 may be your out-of-pocket here. Over here, this may not be an option.
Okay.
If you're a smoker and you develop lung cancer, $5,000 could be your out-of-pocket with Obamacare. Over here, you're not going to get coverage. So there's things like that you have to look at. But things that are common is, let's say you decide you want to have a baby. $5,000 here, $5,000 here. So there's some things that could be similar, but some things that are not. And that goes into the guidelines of the program that you're enrolling into.
The plan.
You have to know what your plan does provide, so we can talk about what does that look like for your situation.
If you have certain tests that you have to have every year, and you but you don't have any active illness, just something that they're monitoring. Mm-hmm. Would that be something that you might just have a surcharge for in the faith-based coverage?
They don't generally charge you for something like that, but we would want to look at the insurance component of maybe the hybrid model to see if we can get those things covered for you with just a copay.
And when you say the hybrid model, is that Obamacare coverage that's like a lower level plan, or is it something entirely different?
No, it's actually something different. So when we first started offering these non-traditional health plans 2 years ago, we only had the catastrophic option where you pretty much bought the plan and then you pay for all the little things out of pocket. Over time, we found a company that is actually partnered with us that works really well with health sharing programs. And it's actually an insurance product. So the insurance product supports the things that the health share program doesn't pay for, like preventive checkups and doctor visits and prescriptions and outpatient testing. And they make it to where it's just a copay. And then you rely on the catastrophic program, which is the faith-based, to be just for your hospitalization and your surgeries and your illness. So we call that our combo hybrid plan because we found a way to bring it together.
So once somebody has either Obamacare or the faith-based health coverage, then they can buy additional coverage because they already have met the government minimum, right?
Correct.
Okay,
now
so that's why you can have that extra company come in.
Right. So now we want to do is once they open to the idea of the non-traditional and that being the faith-based, is the faith-based going to be enough? And most of the times it's not. And that's where we bring that insurance piece back into the faith-based conversation to make it a well-rounded health plan.
But you couldn't just go and buy that insurance on its own and have it qualified.
Actually, you can.
Oh, you can?
We sure can. And all three of our programs, whether it's Obamacare or the faith-based or the insurance piece, are all ACA exempt.
Oh, well, that's really interesting. So it sounds like we need a lot more people like you, Billy, to come in and explain all this stuff to us. I was just thinking if you were trying to compare your group benefits at work, that it's awfully hard to get information on those too as far as specific things. So we certainly have created kind of a nightmare situation in how to have people available to evaluate things that are not biased towards one or the other.
Sure,
and I think that's why you've become independent. And when you first started today, you talked about you originally were a captive agent. Many people may not know what that means. So what that means is that a captive person can only sell a product, one product line from a particular issuer, and that issuer is the one paying them instead of you shopping around, which is being independent. And that's the same business model that we have with our clients, is that we look at their needs first and then we find what meets their needs, not saying, well, everybody needs to fit in this bucket. So I'm glad that that's the way you work with clients too.
Yes.
All right. So what other things might we want to ask?
Well, I want to bring up one last thing about after the process has started, because this is new. So you're excited about this new healthcare, and now you've got it, and the premiums have come down. But there is a process in which you need to go back to your doctors and let them know that, hey, I've got a new ID card, and here is that information. And put the app on your phone so you can carry the electronic version of it. Maybe set up the teledoc feature on your phone, because if you get sick one night, you don't have time to fill out your profile and tell the doctor everything. If you do it ahead of time, everything's just so convenient for you. So there's a process in which we walk you through after you've gotten enrolled, because the first time or two you're going to think this is, it's going to be something different. I'm not used to it, but it's going to be very much what you were used to before, except that we're going to make it a lot smoother for you. And so the companies that we work with have a process, kind of a step one, step two, that we walk you through. And then once you're all set up, you Life is good. And when open enrollment comes around the next year, you're not one of those people worried about it, because you no longer have to worry about what's going on in Washington, D.C. and whether there's going to be a change or not.
Awesome.
Let's say that you wanted to go the other way. You wanted to go from a faith-based coverage into an Obamacare type thing. Is that when you have to worry about open enrollment?
Yes. And then there's sometimes during the year you can sign up, it's called the special enrollment period, which you have to then qualify either by marriage, divorce, have a child.
Okay, so that's a life-changing event or something like that, right?
Correct.
Okay, well, we've really enjoyed talking with you, and Billy's information is going to be available on our Voice America host page, and you can get it from there, or you can visit his website, which is the JordanInsuranceAgency.com,
Mm-hmm.
and he'd be happy to hear from you. We're planning to continue on the healthcare coverage topic, focusing on Medicare in our next show. And then we're also looking at doing Social Security after that. So if you have questions now that you'd like to see us cover on the show, please email them to us at mcradio@moneycounts.biz, and we will try to include those. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit more about your healthcare options, and that you'll take advantage of some of this information in order to free up some money for something much more fun. Thank you for listening.
Opinions expressed are those of the speaker and are not endorsed by the named broker, dealer, or its affiliates. All information has been prepared solely for informational purposes and is not an offer to buy or sell, or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell any security or instrument, or to participate in any particular trading strategy. Certain statements offered are forward-looking, including but not limited to statements that are predictions of or indicate future events, trends, plans, or objectives. Undue reliance should not be placed on such statements because by their nature, they are subject to known and unknown risks and uncertainties. The information provided is not intended as tax or legal advice. You are encouraged to seek tax or legal advice from an independent professional advisor. Money Counts Inc. is an independent firm with securities that are offered through registered representatives of Summit Brokerage Services Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services are offered through Summit Financial Group Inc., a registered investment advisor. Summit Brokerage Services Inc. and Summit Financial Group Inc. are separate and unrelated to any other named entity. Debbie Peterson is a registered investment advisor located at 11121 Carmel Commons Boulevard, Suite 355, Charlotte, North Carolina, 28226. Phone number is 704-315-5623.